Good day, I'm Stephen McHugh, and this is your JIS News for Monday, February 6, 2023. Government will be amending the Road Traffic Act and regulations to reinforce public transportation safety for children and the wider public. Prime Minister Andrew Holness gave the assurance on Friday after several operators of public passenger vehicles took the decision not to transport children under the age of 12. This was in response to stipulations under the law for the installation of child restraint systems. Under the Act, motorists who refuse to comply with the regulation can be fined $5,000.
We have decided that we will make some amendments to the law, and we will do so as quickly as possible. It may come in the form of amendments to the regulations, which can be done very quickly by a ministerial direction, which may not necessarily need to go to Parliament, or if it does, as soon as possible in Parliament.
Prime Minister Holness says that until the amendments are made, the government will support the Jamaica Constabulary Force's decision to exercise greater discretion in allowing PPV drivers to transport children without the restraint system.
The police will exercise a certain level of discretion on this matter and will police it as it was under the old Act.
The Prime Minister says amendments will initially be made to the 2022 road traffic regulations and thereafter the Act. This may come in a month or two, or depending on how fast stakeholders move with consultations and further deliberations. Meanwhile, members of the Jamaica Constabulary Force, JCF, have received training to enforce changes under the Road Traffic Act and regulations. During a two-day sensitization session last week, officers discussed scenarios and disputes that may arise while enforcing the law. A travel document is also being prepared to guide officers through the fines and procedures of the Act and regulations. Police Commissioner Major General Anthony Anderson says while the changes include a number of sectors, such as transport, the judiciary, and the tax office, the police is the face of the ticketing system. Hence, the necessity for training to have the correct information and attitude.
Ultimately, in the early stages, we're going to have to be spending a lot of time guiding persons who we interact with and what is correct. And so it's important that we know, and also even as we deliver those tickets, it's important that we have the correct sort of interactions with the public.
State Minister for National Security Xavier Main is imploring motorists to abide by the rules, which he says is a step towards reducing the high level of indiscipline and restoring public order in the society.
It is ignoring these less serious offenses, such as breaching the road code, that leads to the ultimate breakdown of order within our society, and the trend continues.
Government will be spending $350 million to construct 24 housing units at St. Paul's Lane in Tower Hill, St. Andrew. Scheduled for completion by June 2023, the housing project will significantly improve the living conditions of families in the area. It is a collaborative effort involving the Housing Agency of Jamaica, the National Housing Trust, the Jamaica Social Investment Fund, the National Water Commission, and Astrom Building Systems Limited. It is part of a program of integrated community development, which will include access to basic infrastructure such as roads, water, and sewerage systems. Addressing residents during a sensitization session in the community last Wednesday, Prime Minister Andrew Holness said the government was serious about transforming communities and the lives of Jamaicans.
We are not just going to build new homes, we're going to put in pathways and a roadway. We're going to take down the zinc fences that have become such a symbol of urban blight and poverty. We're going to take those zinc fences and replace them. We have already run some electricity infrastructure in place, and we are putting in the sewage infrastructure to make sure that you have a sustainable community.
The Prime Minister says that following completion of the units, work will commence on the construction of a Golden Age home and an infant school. He says land and funding have already been identified for the Golden Age home. Jamaica's Foreign Trade Action Plan, JAM Trade, is being reviewed to be more flexible and able to adjust to global changes. Consultations are to be held with public and private sector groups, academia, and civil society to examine mechanisms that are available to advance trade and related matters. Jam Trade, which replaced the Jamaica Trade Adjustment Team, JTAT, in 2019, outlines general policy direction, implementation priorities, and strategies. Minister of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade, Senator Kamina Johnson-Smith, says partnering with the private sector in the review process is important for pursuing a transformational trade policy agenda.
Today, we are once again standing on the cusp of a major shift in global and regional trade, where we must be proactive and turn challenges into opportunities. So you, private sector, you are critical to this process. We are the talk and the framers. You are the doers. You are the implementers. And therefore, your role and your partnership is absolutely critical to this process. But we all must be prepared to think, and this includes government, in a more innovative and dynamic way than we may have been required in the past.
Minister Johnson-Smith was speaking last week at a meeting with the Jamaica Trade Policy Advisory Group. She advised that the ministry would be seeking a new and dynamic approach to the development of a regional trade policy. This is to be done within the context of CARICOM and its Single Market and Economy CSME. And finally, the Pharmaceutical Society of Jamaica, PSJ, is appealing to Jamaicans not to source prescription drugs from questionable and non-registered sources. Immediate past President Dr. Ernestine Watson says the PSJ is concerned about the sale of counterfeit drugs, which is a major issue in Jamaica and a matter that is being taken very seriously. She was speaking at a JIS think tank.
Why should you go to a pharmacy to fill your prescription? We want to discourage persons from getting the medications on the street, buying it from sources that are not legal. We want persons to be aware that not all drugs are good for you. There are counterfeit drugs, and so when you need your medication, the Ministry of Health, through the National Health Fund, gives us affordable drugs. Pharmacies are available.
Dr. Watson emphasizes that all places where prescription drugs are sold must be registered with the Pharmacy Council of Jamaica. There is an ongoing registration process, and pharmacies and pharmacists are required by law to renew their registration annually. It is also a legal requirement for the license to be displayed at the place where pharmaceuticals are sold. And that's it for JIS News Today. I'm Stephen McHugh. Thanks for watching.